gonna backtrack. And you should've kept my name out your mouth. Ask me though how it all turned out. When you try to use my name for clout, keep on going, give me something you can talk about.
Hello, everybody. How are you doing on this fine Tuesday, July 8th, 2025, 2:02 p.m. We are here to discuss the Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs trial. We are not done with that yet. No, we are not. Well, the verdict is in. He's got found guilty on a couple things, not guilty on a few things. The biggest stuff, the RICO, he got found not guilty, and the ST King, he got found not guilty. But today, we are not here for a verdict. And then, of course, the two-man act charges, which is like basically prostitution. He did get found guilty on that, and then not guilty on the other stuff. So, yeah, that's all I had for that. And then today we are going to get probably not a whole lot of action. Probably not a whole lot of action. Let me bring up the document that was just now filed. Now, when I say probably not a whole lot of action, I mean like, in comparison to what we have gotten used to here on this channel covering this trial. But there was some stuff filed today. Let me pull up the most recent filing and I will show y'all. Now, Inner City Press is supposedly going to be inside the courtroom. So we will be reading his tweets from inside the courtroom. Shout out to the mods in the chat. I see Diamond Rainbow. I see Birmingham Leprechaun. I see Christy. I see Oklahoma Outlaw. Okay, let me bring up this document. It's document number 449. Let me make sure that's what it is before I'm lying. Yeah, 449. Okay, so the parties have met and conferred and have agreed to the following schedule for sentencing, post-verdict motions, and submission of offense conduct to the probation officer. So there's like several things that have to happen between the verdict and sentencing. The judge doesn't just get to like pull a number out of thin air and say, oh, you're going to be sentenced to this long. There are all kinds of fail safes. There's all kinds of stop gaps, if you will, in between the judge and the sentence. And there are sentencing guidelines. These are governed by like the Bail Reform Act, for example, and other such types of statutes, which are underlaid by other such types of considerations like fairness and trying to make sure that there's some consistency across sentencing, all of that stuff. So this letter says that the two different sides have come together. They have agreed to the following. Now, not only the two different sides, but also a third party has to get involved. This is the probation office itself. There's like a representative or a team of representatives from the probation office. So this is signed by Mark Agnifilo, but this is a jointly submitted letter. This is a letter from everybody who they mentioned, supposedly. Mark Agnifilo says, for sentencing, this is Diddy's lawyers, the parties propose the court's original date of October 3rd. Okay, so the court said, okay, this is breaking news, everybody. Breaking news. Diddy originally wanted to expedite. He wanted to expedite this. Hold on. Girl. He originally wanted to expedite. That means speed it up, hurry it along. And it doesn't look like that's actually going to end up being the case unless I'm just misunderstanding something. Because look, this says the parties proposed the court's original date of October 3rd, 2025 for what? For sentencing. So it seems like the judge was pretty on the money with what date needed to happen. For sentencing, the defense, this is Diddy's team, Diddy's side, proposes that the probation office provide the parties with a pre-sentence investigation report, okay, on or before August 29th. That's at the end of next month. And then, so they just run through the different little guidelines, the little different timelines that would need to happen for them to have the sentencing date on October 3rd. Now, does this mean that the sentencing is going to definitely happen on October 3rd? No, not yet. Not yet. Let me just read through this and then we'll discuss the rest. The defense objections should be due before September 5th. The government objections to that should be filed before September 12th and on or before. And then the probation office should disclose their final pre-sentence investigation report, so the final one, on September 18th. Then Diddy's team can do a sentencing memorandum, which they would file the very next day, September 19th. And then the government sentencing memorandum, the government, the feds, will file theirs about a week later on September 26th. This would all get them in line to have a sentencing date of October 3rd. The government and the probation office do not object. For post-verdict motions, we want to do a deadline of July 30th, and then the government respond by August 20th. I don't really exactly know what the post-verdict motions are off the top of my head at this exact moment. Finally, the government requests that it will be permitted to submit its summary of offense conduct on or before July 11th. So today's the 8th. It's like 3 days. They want 3 more days to submit their summary of offense conduct. They say that the defense does not object. Okay, so for now, it does appear like October 3rd, 2025, so it's only July right now, is going to be the sentencing date. The judge did appear to have a pretty good understanding of what the timeline was going to need to be. Because at first, Diddy's lawyers were like, no, Your Honor, that we want to expedite. We want to expedite. But listen, y'all, please look at this. It's over, Inner City Press said. Agnifilo submitted 1 letter and then a second letter. The deputy said the judge will get back in writing. On to other cases. I waited around all day for this. The parties have met and conferred. Yeah, look, this is the letter we just read. Okay, 5 minutes ago. In the United States versus Sean Combs, hearing on expedited sentencing. Inner City Press covering the trial. New letter suggests October 3rd for sentencing. Diddy, is that you? Diddy says, yeah, where are you? Agnifilo, in my office. Deputy, is the government on? Yes. Beyond the letter, anything? No. Okay, we'll get back in writing. Court adjourned. The end. The whole court hearing is in one tweet. That's got to be a record. Breaking Diddy news. Entire court hearing in one single tweet. Sentencing will be on October 3rd. Okay, so it is official now that the sentencing will be on October 3rd, 2025. Now, today is July 8th. So it's in about 3 months. But October 3rd, not 23rd. I don't know if I said 23rd. But this actually, the thing about Diddy, yeah, nothing happened. He's going to get sentenced on the October the 3rd. There's a lot of stuff that has to happen between now and then. There has to be like the probation, the pre-sentence report by the probation office. There's got to be an interview done with Diddy by like some office. Yeah, I said the 3rd. Okay. So here's the tweet if y'all want to see it. This is the thing that was filed. Parties have met and conferred, agreed to the following schedule. So these are the different dates. Stuff has to happen by August 29th, something else by, September 5th, something else by September 12th, something else by September 9th, 18th, and then the 19th, and then the 26th, and then they have all their little dates worked out. So we will be getting a sentencing of Sean P. Diddy Puff Daddy Combs for the 2 violations of the federal statute, which is the Mann Act. October 3rd. In the meantime, there's going to be other stuff going on. All this other stuff. And this is really just to for two main reasons. Number one, to make sure that this is going to be like a fair sentencing that is in keeping with what other people are sentenced to for similar things, et cetera, et cetera. But also, this is also just logistics. Like, the pre-sentence investigation has to be done by the probation office. That takes a certain amount of time. They all have to kind of schedule this, schedule that, etc. But while I have y'all here, hold on, I was reading something else stuff. Tony said, I had my mom waiting to come on here. She said, for a tweet. LOL, you always got my mother going with how you say stuff. She loves her BJ. Well, shout out to your mom, Tony. And exactly, we all got all dressed up today just for this tweet. Yes. No. It was never going to be a sentencing today, y'all. It was always a status hearing on the sentencing. What's going on with me and Rock Nation? Nothing at all whatsoever. I don't know who started that lie. Some days make minutes, some minutes make days. I don't think it works here. You already seen Halloween stuff in the stores. Exactly. It's going to come and go. So while I have y'all here, I want to show y'all something that Inner City Press has uncovered. And I'm sure, he's not the only person who has made this discovery, but it's where I saw the discovery. So I'm going to give him the credit. It has to do with that juror. This guy right here. Did y'all see this guy?
More, just Tatsy just sitting around.
The defense showed that.
Yeah.
Just her sitting around.
The time UN counterterrorism offices George, and he has some Greek sounding last name. This guy, George, is an alternate juror. And do you remember whenever we were in here doing the jury selection videos, like before the trial even started? There was this guy who was in the UN. He worked for the UN in the counterterrorism group. And he was saying that he doesn't work with law enforcement. He only works with Interpol, which is the international police. Like, you do work, you do work with law enforcement if you work for the UN and anti-terrorism. And that's what Inner City Press was saying. I mean, he has so much experience with working around, and trying to work on reporting on the UN. They're the ones that won't let him have a normal reporter's badge. He's banned from the UN reporting and stuff like that. I do want to look more into his story now that the Diddy trial is over, to get the specifics on this UN stuff. But this guy right here, I mean, is he okay? You know what I mean? It just makes me want to stop and say, bless his heart. Is he okay? He went on CNN and he said some stuff that doesn't appear to be immediately true, y'all. And I am going off of also something, these things that Inner City Press has said. He said that the prosecution, this guy's oh yeah, the prosecution just showed videos of Diddy just sitting around. And then the news anchor lady's you mean the defense? And look how Inner City Press puts it. He's immediately he said it was the defense that showed that after being asked / told. The defense? He also spoke on Don Richard, and he talked about other jurors and alternates. Now, there's two kind of I'm not going to say lies, but I will say inconsistencies with this particular juror that I find to be troublesome in separate and apart from anything about getting defense and prosecution messed up. Okay, maybe he's nervous. He's on CNN. He got defense and prosecution mixed up, whatever. But the first issue is that whole he doesn't work with law enforcement thing. It almost seems like he was maybe coloring his answers or shading his answers in order to get onto the jury. Now, he wasn't on the official jury. To be extremely clear, I think I already said this a couple times, but just to be extremely clear, he was not on the official jury. He was on the alternates list. And remember, one alternate did get pulled over into the real jury because juror number 6 was kicked off the jury. Remember that? Juror number 6 was kicked off. And then you had a juror number 1, this other random guy come in We also familiar with juror number 5 because he was the jury 4 person. But this guy right here that we're looking at right here, this George from the UN counterterrorism office, who maybe wasn't fully forthcoming exactly about what his job was or how much he worked with law enforcement in order to get on the Diddy jury. And y'all, I was freaking out. I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Because he also talked about working with this specific thing, what was it? Hold on. He said, Inner City Press during jury selection easily figured out who the UN Office of Counterterrorism juror was, but did not report it. So he's been knowing who this was. Now that George has gone on CNN and shown his face, we will note George Kostakis of UN Office of Counterterrorism listed as UN contact for their conference in Dushanbe. I don't know how you say that. I would say Dushanbe, but I don't know how you say that. Which, oh, this is so crazy. Look at this. Look. In voir dire, this guy tried to argue that he doesn't work with U.S. law enforcement. He said he didn't work with U.S. law enforcement, but yet he said he only worked with international processes like Duchamp, I don't know how to say that word, and listing for himself a 201 phone number, which tracks him to also being a New York real estate agent. We will have more on this. So I'm like, wait a second, y'all. The Diddy jury web is webbing into UN Gate web of Inner City Press. What is this Duchamp thing? It's in Tajikistan, okay? Tajikistan. And do you remember, aren't we kind of close? Aren't we kind of close? How close is Tajikistan to Kazakhstan? That's what I want to know. Show me that. Tajikistan map. Let me just see. I figured it might have been pretty close. They pretty close. Yeah, they sure are. So, I mean, why was Diddy in this random orphanage in Kazakhstan? What is this guy doing working with the Dushanbe in Tajikistan? Does this have anything to do with the Diddy trial? Does the fact that the UN doesn't like secrecy have anything to do with the fact that this particular Diddy trial was very secretive compared to other trials that Inner City Press has been covering? I mean, I have questions all around. I have questions all around. Let me see what else he said about this guy here. This part. Yeah, he was like, oh yeah, it was just, the freak-offs were kind of tame. And so there's another issue too. There's another issue with what this guy had said, y'all. And the issue is, in addition to the things I just pointed out with, like, you know, maybe he does work a little bit more with U.S. Law enforcement than maybe he tried to let on. I don't know why he would have said that. Maybe he really didn't understand it. The second thing is the guy's just a freaking weirdo. If you watch the video with him, the interview on CNN, he's very strange. He makes pauses in strange spots. He has to be obviously coached, in my opinion, through this interview. He's just a weirdo. I mean, just on top of the fact that he's just a freaking weirdo, he also said something else that Inner City Press clocked him on. And I think I maybe even mentioned this also myself, where this particular alternate juror here had said that he did not know who was going to be the real jurors, who was going to be the alternate jurors. And Inner City Press is like, that is just frankly false. The jurors were all told who was going to be the real jurors and who was going to be the alternate jurors. It wasn't a surprise at all whatsoever to anybody, including this guy, like on the last day of trial, oh, you're not going to be the juror, you're going to get sent home. Like, it just was false. And according to Inner City Press, and it's just so strange as to Why? Why did this guy say that? Let me pull up the interview. I'm going to pull up the interview and show y'all that part where he says that, because it's like just not true. And it's like, for what reason would he want to be saying something, not like that just isn't true? Like it's almost like, does he want to hurt his credibility or what? With Laura Coates.
7 weeks of your life, hearing all of this testimony, you were an alternate, you did not deliberate, but did you agree with the final verdict?
I understood the final verdict, and I think if I, because I took a copious amount of notes overall, the 350 pages worth of notes. Because at the end, we weren't told who was an alternate.
At the end, we weren't told who was an alternate. Wait, hold on. He sounds just like some people I went to law school with. He just said at the end, we weren't told who was an alternate. Look, I know that this is as loud as I can get the volume. So just read the captions if you can, but watch.
Because I took a copious amount of notes overall, the 350 pages worth of notes. Because at the end, we weren't told who was an alternate, who was a main juror, until literally the last second when it.
We weren't told who was an alternate and who was a real juror until literally the last second. That's not true, according to Inner City Press. It's almost like he just announced a new 350-page book. Indeed. He's delighted to be interviewed. He's delighted to be saying this, right? Let's listen one more time.
The 350 pages worth of notes. Because at the end, we weren't told who was an alternate, who was a main juror, until literally the last second when they were reading when the judge was reading his entire statement. At the end, it was like, the first 12 of you are the jurors, the last 5 are the alternates.
He just pulled this straight out of his butt, y'all. What is he talking about? He's even got that duper's delight on his face. Look how he's smiling. Doesn't he just look like a sinister liar? In my opinion, I mean, maybe y'all disagree with me. He looks like half Bob's Burgers character, half demon, with a little sprinkling down the line of lizard or something. I mean, it's like, like, how am I doing? Am I doing? Like, you have to be possessed to like accidentally make your face like that. It's just my opinion. But I feel like he ain't telling the truth. And I also did not probably need Inner City Press to tell me he's not telling the truth. Just look at the man. Just listen to the man. He don't sound like someone who's telling the truth. And it's also like, what? You mean to tell me? Wait, hold on. Because when I first watched this, the way that he was saying it, it was like, well, I guess it must be the case. But then Inner City Press was like, no, these people knew who the alternates were and they knew who the jurors were from the first day. From voir dire, they knew this.
So we didn't know, even in the jury room, no one treated everyone, we all were equal because we didn't know who was who.
We all were equal because we didn't know who was who. Just weird stuff all around. Why? And then it acts, he might be on the spectrum, but I'm on the spectrum. So that don't mean I'm lying all the time. This man, verifiably, according to Inner City Press, let me show y'all what Inner City Press actually said, because he was unequivocal. He had ran into Mark Agnifilo earlier. He said, I just emailed the UN spokesperson a series of questions about this UN Office of Counterterrorism alternate juror, including to confirm or deny his answer that the United Nations Office of Counterterrorism never works with U.S. law enforcement, and about his seeming moonlighting in yet another job, the real estate agent thing. He's saying if you have a 201 number, then you might be a real estate agent. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm not really familiar with New York like that. Look, He says exactly, this is 2 hours ago. Did you notice that George said the prosecution's video selections showed Cassie, quote, sitting around? But then when he was asked or told the defense, he then said, yeah, the defense. He also knew from day one, this is from Inner City Press, he was alternate 6 and not a juror. Inner City Press said he has asked the UN. The verdict sheet came out. I don't know if y'all saw that. We can take a look at that. This is what that verdict sheet for Diddy looks like. It finally was hit the docket today. Not guilty on RICO. Not guilty on ST. Guilty on Mann Act and guilty on Mann Act. That's the verdict sheet from Diddy. As I live tweeted, okay, so Inner City Press also said this. As I live tweeted the jury selection in his George's 2-day claim that his UN Office of Counterterrorism work doesn't work with U.S. law enforcement jumped out at me, Inner City Press said, because I report on the UN as well. And I knew that claim to be false. Then I saw his pitch on CNN. That's all. So it appears that this guy is not trustworthy. It appears that he is not at least informed, at the very least. So it just begs the question, what else was going on in that jury? Why did this guy get a special interview with CNN just like a day after the verdict came down? He works with the UN. Why was a guy who works with law enforcement so closely? He claims he didn't. He claims he doesn't. But it just looks like, 201 they're saying is New Jersey. I don't know if there were plants on the jury or not. Tiff is asking, do I think there were plants on the jury? I can't say yes for sure I do. But what I will say is if it were to come out that there were plants on the jury, I won't in any way be surprised. No, I won't. But this guy wasn't on the jury. He was an alternate. And he's sitting in here acting like he didn't know he wasn't on the jury. I don't know. Because Diddy's lawyer helped pick the jury, obviously. Yeah, and also Mark Garagos apparently did. Is this sculpting the narrative? Could be. Could be. Something seems weird, right? 212 is Manhattan. Okay, all right. Looks weird to me. I'll say that. Looks weird to me. I'll say that. How did this guy get, and it says all right by his little face, exclusive. And it's like, exclusive, CNN. That's where Chloe Malos used to work. We already know that they'll post the article that says there's no need to free Britney. So can this be a cause for a new trial? Cindy, that's a great question. The short answer is I don't know. The short answer is it depends. But I do know that the Ghislaine Maxwell case is kind of like being appealed on a jury issue, similar, where, someone maybe didn't tell the full truth, but then they actually got on the jury. Okay, they actually got on the jury and they actually persuaded jurors. Now, the lower courts said that that was not a good enough reason for a mistrial, but Ghislaine Maxwell has appealed it all the way. So we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. I don't think it's necessarily grounds for a new trial, but I really have no idea how this stuff works. So, I guess anything could be. We will just have to see. Thank you so much to Smiles a Lot for the $6.99 Canadian super sticker. Thanks so much, Iris, for the €2 super chat. I agree 100%. BJ, thank you for coming live. Thanks so much to Jennifer for the $9.99. She says, how can he speak to how jurors felt when he wasn't even in the deliberation room? Exactly. And I think he's trying to make it seem like he was. He was like, yeah, when we went to the back, like we didn't even know until the judge read his final thing. It was the last minute. It's like, no, that's not true. So it's very interesting to me that he is out here trying to speak for the actual jurors whenever he was just merely an alternate. And like, look, listen, that's not to take away from the fact that those alternates still did have to sit through that whole trial just the same. I'm not even trying to take away from that, but to try and, in my opinion, what it appears is that he's trying to make it, and maybe for the purposes of selling a book or something, make it seem like he was a little bit more involved as a juror and in the jury process than maybe he actually was, in order to maybe attempt to substantiate his credibility for this so-called alleged book he might be working on or whatever. I mean, we've seen The Punisher got a book. Al B. Sure got a book coming out in 2 months. So, I mean, who really knows exactly? Thank you for that $9.99 super chat. No, he was an alternate. He was an alternate. Yeah, maybe trying to make himself seem more important than he really is. And maybe he was put there to be the babysitter and watch everything go down. I don't know. Tony said, it sounds like this is starting to be bigger than just Diddy. It might just be. It sure might be. No, itty bitty kitty, they didn't pick up on the discrepancies. Now, they did have him as alternate juror number 6. So, I mean, he would have been the very last juror on the alternates. They would have had to run through 5 other jurors before him. So that gives me some type of hope. But what if he was juror 1 or 2? Alternate juror 1 or 2. Kadai just said, excuse me, yep, the defense definitely leashed the detail of the secret sidebar. Oh, leaked? You mean that Diddy went to the Batterer program or whatever? I totally agree, Taylor. Shout out to you, member for 21 months. Taylor said, I don't think it's fair to the other jurors to get on national TV and tell everyone that he believes what they were feeling. I agree. Gulf Coast girl, if the judge determines the jury might have been tainted, is that grounds for a mistrial at that point and a retrial? So in and of itself, no. A lot of stuff has to happen and be proven and stuff. And like Diddy, I think from what I understand, Diddy has to request it. It can't be sua sponte, or maybe it can. I really don't know. I shouldn't even try and speculate because I really don't know. Yeah, no, Tyra, at this point, it's just like they lie to our face all day. It's like, okay, all right, whatever y'all say. Yeah. I know you meant leaked. I knew that's what you meant. I mean, that's it. Like, it's also, Lindsay, exactly. It's also against the judge's recommendations on how jurors can conduct themselves post-trial. Right. And it is just a recommendation. And also, he was already dismissed. This guy was already dismissed on the day of the verdict. Remember, they got dismissed on the first day of deliberations? Tramel Scott said, wow, so he's the only juror who didn't know he was an alternate. That's BS. I think so. I think so. That's the second interview with him, Sonny said. Seems creepy. He does. The alternates were not there when the judge said that. Yeah, I think so. He's just mad that he wasn't the last of the last. Yeah, how did he know how they felt? I really have no idea. I have no idea. No clue. Yeah, no, the entire case is just very messed up. C&M seriously presented him as an actual juror. Did they? No, it says alternate. Look at their title here. It says CNN exclusive. Listen to what an alternate juror in the trial has to say. Or this guy just wasn't paying attention. Well, I don't know how we could have came up with 350 pages of notes. How much is one spiral notebook? That's what I want to know. How many pages? How many pages in one spiral notebook? Is it 100? 70. 70 sheets. Oh, 70 to 200. Oh, okay, I see. So let's say there's like 100 pages in a spiral notebook. They're saying 70. So like 100, let's just say 150. So that means he has like several notebooks full. Silver Creek Mystic Treats says, so do I understand it correctly that Diddy will have to stay in jail until sentencing? Yes. Yes. Okay, Jolene said, hold on, mine has 300 pages. The guy looks so sus. I know. I don't think they kept the notes. 5 of the cheap notebooks. That's front and back though. He had that college ruled pink Aurora shirt. He's not being sentenced today. No, they do not keep their notes. But, I think that he's just making reference to taking all those notes. I think he's making reference to taking all those notes because he's probably going to write a book, or he wants to have a book deal, or he wants to have a interview circuit deal, or, something. That's what I think, to make it seem like, oh, I took all these notes. Like I wrote it down. I'm going to remember it. They are not moving up the sentencing date. Thank you very much, Noah Tannenbaum, for the question. Are they moving up the sentencing date? No. So previously, it was pretty much a given that the sentencing date was going to be moved up. It was originally proposed by the judge to be on October 3rd. Well, Mark Agnifilo basically jumped up out of his chair when the judge said that and was like, no, not October 3rd. We need to do it. Can we please expedite it? We need to go faster. We need to do it without an interview. We need to do it without this, without that. And the judge is like, that's fine with me. I can be available whenever you feel like it. Okay. But we got to, listen to the pretrial people, the other side, on the government side, all that. And so today we just learned in the last 30 minutes or so that Diddy is going to be sentenced still on the judge's originally proposed date, which is October 3rd, 2025. Let me know who wants to be the line sitter for that day. Girl. Woo. Why do we suppose they decided to keep the date? Heidi, great question. I don't know. I can only guess. But my speculation is because there's a lot of moving parts on this. There's 2 reasons. Number 1, there's a lot of moving parts here. So it's not just up to Diddy showing up. He actually has rights under certain statutes to make sure that he has a fair sentence. And the fair sentence, I was just, oh, I know. I get distracted by y'all's comments. Sorry. Let me hide them for a second. So there's a lot of moving parts. They have to coordinate not only with the government, the feds, their schedule. I mean, they have trials and stuff going on too. They also have to coordinate with the judge's schedule, which he seemed to be the most flexible. And then they also have to balance Diddy's rights. He has the right to have these interviews, to have these reports written up, and he has the right to have a fair amount of time for that. The second reason that I think went into them just deciding to keep it in October is because every day that Diddy sits in jail is counting as time served. So the judge is most likely going to sentence him to at least 3 months, right? And the next 3 months is what's going to be sitting in between him today and his sentencing date. However, the next 3 months that he sits in there in jail or in prison or whatever, he's the detention center, it counts as his time served. So let's say we get to the sentencing hearing and the judge says, okay, I sentence you to 5 years in prison total with the amount that you've already served as time served to knock off the 5 years. So by October, Diddy will have served a year in jail. So he will only have to serve about 4 more years in the MDC or wherever. I don't even know if the judge is going to keep him at the MDC. He might get moved. They might ask to move him somewhere to a minimum security facility because he's only been found guilty of the Mann Act violations. That might be what they try to argue. EHC Bunny said, those notebooks are collected. Whenever you leave the courtroom, you cannot even take it to the bathroom. No other notebooks are allowed. How did he save notes? He didn't say he saved notes. He didn't say he saved them. He just said that he took them. He took about 350 pages of notes. With this guy's track record, I wouldn't necessarily put it past him to maybe be exaggerating. OJ was sentenced on the same day, somebody is saying. Oh my gosh, is that true? I don't think he has to register as an S offender. I don't think he does. I don't think that goes with this trial. He doesn't have to register, Miss Tammy said. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Because remember, the whole thing with the S offender registry, y'all, is about the issue of violating someone's consent, either because they're not of the age to consent legally and so therefore morally, or, not that legal and moral is always the same thing, but like it's a law for that reason in our particular society. Or because the person was forced, tricked, deceived, coerced, assaulted, against their will. Like that's whenever someone has to go on a registry. But remember, the crimes for which Diddy was accused and ultimately acquitted, those were the ones that had the force, the fraud, the coercion attached. And he was found to be not guilty on those. So I do understand we can disagree with the jury, on the verdict if y'all want to and stuff like that. But we can't be out here saying that Diddy forced, fraud, coerced somebody, because technically speaking, he was acquitted on that. Legally speaking, he was acquitted on that. And so it's not legally accurate or, whatever to say that he did. And also just keeping it in mind as to whenever you're, thinking about some of these punishments, consequences, etc. The lists of the registry lists are really put there to, punish those people who did things against people's will, whether, again, it be because they were forced, fraud, coerced as adults, rugged, kidnapped, etc., or whether it was because they were not old enough to legally consent, etc. Right, yes. People, I understand, strongly disagree. Yes. What do you think based off all the investigations you've done in your career? Even though they tell us he's in jail, the trial wasn't. I don't know, y'all, because, and this is something that I did stress the entire trial and in my live coverage, is there was just so much stuff in the case that I couldn't see. So many filings, so many memos, so many motions, so many briefs, so many letters, emails, all that stuff that I just couldn't see. I mean, all the video and every single piece of evidence that was shown with one of the primary witnesses, Jane, we never saw. And so I don't feel like I'm really in the position to say, well, I don't know what they saw. It's what, 20 to 40%, maybe 60, 20 to 60% of all the evidence in this case was either never filed at all to the public and never will be, or was so late and untimely filed that I wasn't able to actually incorporate it into my understanding of the case. So for me personally, I mean, I don't think, I never wanted to see a freak off tape. Okay. So I'm not trying to say, well, I need to see the freak off tapes, but like just the text messages, the pictures, like all of that stuff. I saw that jury with my own eyes when I was in that room, and they looked like a jury that might find Diddy not guilty of something. And they also look like a jury that maybe some of them might have been going home and looking at their phones and looking at the news at night. And, I hate to make that type of allegation about my fellow citizens and things, but I mean, these people definitely found Diddy to be not guilty. I think, it's easier, frankly, and more convenient for me to just be like, well, the jury saw things I didn't see, so they must know something I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's true. But I do know that, Diddy has been accused of witness tampering and obstruction in the past. And people would say he was found innocent on those things, but that is not entirely exactly accurate. He was found not guilty on RICO, but he wasn't independently charged with obstruction. I mean, that brings questions up like, why not? Why didn't they charge him independently with obstruction? I don't know. I don't know. The courtroom is over, itty bitty kitty. Thank you for the $5 super chat. Inner City Press has to know more because he's covering the UN and a human ficking trial. Should check into the courtroom again with ICP. But the court is over for the day. They had one tweet and left. And it wasn't even in a courtroom. It was just Zoom court. And then the media or whatever, the public could go into the courtroom and listen. OJ lost his civil case, so he never got convicted. Convicted. Correction, OJ not guilty. Verdict. The verdict was on October 3rd. Thank you for correcting that. Thank you. Will I be covering Buzzbees if and when they go to court? I'm going to be honest with y'all. I'm probably not going to be going back physically to court anywhere for at least like another year. I just can't do it. It's obviously they like have chilled my speech entirely. And also, I mean, I really don't like going out there around those demonic creeps. I worked very hard in my life to have a beautiful, lovely home where I live and I don't ever want to leave, to be honest. And so, I don't know if I'm going to be going back to court anytime soon. It was just, and now like the fallout from the court, like those demonic beasts tried to keep me out of court. And I guess they thought they were just going to gang up on me and pick on me and make up lies about me. And no one actually expected that I was going to stand 10 toes down on business. It wasn't clocking to them. And it is still not clocking to them that I am standing on business. So now I'm having to deal with liars lying. I have people calling my own personal friends now lying. It's okay, y'all. All is going to be revealed in the documentary I'm making, no doubt. But if somebody's in the court and they're live tweeting it, yeah, I'll cover it. If something is being live streamed, yeah, I'll cover it. But like, is everyone at Buzzbees going to be being, live tweeted and live streamed? I don't know. Casey Johnson adopted a child in 2007 in Kazakhstan. Casey Johnson of the Johnson & Johnson baby oil family. Hate the lack of transparency with the feds. I mean, it seriously. The whole case doesn't make any sense. I think it's so weird. Anna said that there was so many evidence that hidden from the public, yet it seems like it wasn't that damaging if the jurors still found him not guilty. I mean, and we just don't know. I certainly don't. The jury should have been sequestered. There was also a lot of evidence which was rejected. See, Miss Sandra, people keep saying this, and I don't know where, But people, y'all, I have seen this allegation being made all over the internet, up and down and all around town. Miss Sandra said that's what's Diddy to stay in jail, because the feds have bigger indictments against Diddy coming before his bail hearing in October. Get the popcorn ready. I mean, if more indictments are coming, I'll be covering it, but I don't know. No, I didn't see anything about Young Noble. If he's put on probation, so Silver Creek Mystic Treats said if he's put on probation, doesn't he have to stay in New York? It depends. It could be a condition of his probation that he has to stay in New York, but the judge could also allow him to travel to, 3 locations or whatever. It depends what the judge decides and what they agree on. Yeah, Sword of Truth. Yeah, it was civil for OJ. I did correct that already, but yeah, just to say it again. I thought OJ was it's not guilty, it's liable. Civilly liable. Date of not guilty, acquittal, not guilty, October 3rd, 1995. What happens now? Nesika said, what happens now with the civil cases? Does he have to stand trial for those? Some of them are probably going to go to trial, and some of them may be settled. Some of them may be dismissed. It's going to just come down to case by case. Agreed. It's just like these people are demonic. Yes, you're going to get a video from the crusty people in court. Yes, you are. They were acting entirely nutso. No, it's just nasty. They were just nasty out there. Not everybody. I had some really good interactions too, y'all. And I will stand on this one too. Some very positive interactions I had. Very, very civil, normal, ordinary, everyday type of interactions that I had with people who were out there supporting Diddy. It wasn't every single Diddy supporter that was acting a fool. But every single person that was acting a fool was a Diddy supporter. You see what I mean? The sufficient necessary right there. It was just too much. They were acting crazy and insane. Yes, I am going to make a video about it. Yes, I am. It's in the works right now. I've been gathering a lot of intel. Okay. I'm still shook up about it because they still continue to lie. No chance at all whatsoever. Diddy walks today. Saucy V, no. Better Than You said, thanks for covering this. The guy is a perverted freak. I don't know what's the newest tea. They told us there's no list. There's now, I guess apparently there's no list. There's no clients. He was selling children to nobody or something. I mean, girl, what? It's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. He's going to be getting sentenced on October 3rd. Ivy Rose, I think family court should be too. If they're going to get our tax dollars and our institutions involved and you can't handle your family crap with your own family, you can't figure out your own family shit without bringing it into the public institutions, that should be live streamed too. Now, of course, there should always be exceptions on a case by case basis. We talking about child abuse. We talking about abuse material and stuff like that. No, of course not. Of course not. I would never say something so preposterous. Of course not. That should not be live streamed. That is preposterous and disgusting. Again, freak off tapes, stuff like that. No, of course that shouldn't be live streamed. But just in general, it should be a default that court is live streamed. I think it should be live streamed in the hallways too, so that you could see when degenerate freaks are lying about somebody and harassing them in line. It would just be open and shut case. It should be live streamed. Why didn't they sequester the jury is definitely a question I have. Amber said they're going to transfer to probation. Is that right? Ivy Rose said, what would the bigger indictments even be? RICO is pretty big. Agreed. The alternate also said they were discussing proceedings during the trial. Weren't they specifically told not to do that? Yeah, I thought they were. Chrissy said, don't worry. He's going to violate that probation in a few hours. Yes, legally, Leah, thank you. Yes, to reiterate, everyone who's just joining, Diddy will be being sentenced in October. Today, the sentence date was decided upon by the parties. October 3rd, 2025. Will the Mann Act convictions make it easier for some people to win their civil cases? I mean, it's very general, very broad question, but it could. Yeah, it could, because he could be framed as a convicted, criminal or whatever. But again, like a lot of that stuff coming in would be like not allowed for prior bad acts and things. So it's going to be very, very tedious moving forward on these civil cases. It's going to be very case by case. Just because something happens in one of these cases, y'all just remember it's not necessarily the case going to be happening in every case. They're all different and they're very fact specific. Somebody said people in jail. Rotten Banana said people in jail for no list. Exactly. Don't make no sense to me. Yeah, no, I mean, they've been talking about it. Roxy, yes, thank you. OJ won his trial, so he was not found guilty. He was not sentenced. Thank you, Christopher, for the $1.99. Christopher Jones, pro bono security whenever you need it. We're gonna have to have pro bono security. We're gonna have a pro bono security force. Everybody's gonna have to show up and make sure nobody skips me in the line next time, because it was just too much. It was just too much. Thank you for that $1.99 and the offer. Thank you, Melanie. Oh, I'm dying over sprinkled in lizard. It was a little dash, a little of lizard, just a little bit, like a little, like a little, one of those, just a little little dash. Are they discussing that? Is them discussing this cause for a new trial? I don't think so. But y'all, I don't know about these ins and outs like this on the specifics. Yes, Casey Johnson was friends with Brittany. That is true. I actually don't know, just learning if that's something that's FOIA-able. I don't think I don't know. It's another one that I don't really know. Amber Boucher, what are you going to do next? I enjoy your lives. Oh, same thing. I know this is brand new for me. I've been doing YouTube for 5 years. And this trial is just, I just started doing that a couple months ago. So I usually cover high profile court cases, high profile, like pop culture court cases. The reason that I started this channel was originally to explain court filings to people that maybe didn't go to law school, but like they could understand it if somebody just explained what was going on. And that's what I did in the context of that. And that time it was the Britney Spears conservatorship. But just little by little, I've done that more and more different cases. I mean, I do focus a lot of my work on conservatorship stuff, abuse of power, corruption, tyranny, sometimes just trying to look at what's going on, etc. No weapon formed against me. Yeah, exactly. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. Thank you, Ivy Rose. Oh, I don't think judges can keep jurors from talking about it. Exactly. I don't think the judge can keep jurors from discussing the case after it's over. No, I don't think he can. But he can recommend to them that they not. And he did. He did suggest. My thoughts on the Justin Bieber conservatorship is people are trying to get at his money. That's my thoughts. Yeah, I got the TriStar content. Yep. How much did the NDAs actually help Diddy? Probably a lot, but I have no way to really know. Thanks so much, Amber, for the $5 super chat. Shout out to you. Thanks so much. Okay, Just Learning said, well, Sarah Boone's messages from jail are all over the internet via FOIA request. So that's why I asked. See, then like I told you, Just Learning, I don't know exactly how it works. So maybe somebody should request that. That'd be cool. to know. So I say he was lying. So is confused half. This is why I came here real quick. Didn't know his law. Live long and prosper. And let's see. Look at this. I think for that $5 super chat. All right, y'all. Well, I am going to run. That'll be all for this one. I'll be back tomorrow, maybe around midday. I think I'll put a poll up if y'all want to read the Rock Nation or Desiree Perez motions to dismiss the Demore Hadley lawsuit, or if y'all would rather to read one of the Fat Joe lawsuits. So I will go and put a poll up so y'all can vote, and we'll read one of those tomorrow. Unless something else crazy happens, we'll read that. That's all I really had for this one. In the meantime, that facts ain't defamation, neither are opinions. Love you, mean it. Okay, bye.